push that, the green light comes on.
So who's going to read this?
Oh, can't find your phone? No, I have it. Oh. Did you go to the back? Huh? Did you go to the back? Up to you. Do you have Ann Duffy's number? Do you have Ann Duffy's number? She's on her way. She's on her way.
Sorry. Call the board meeting to order. A roll call.
President Shaw,
Here.
Vice President Duffy, Secretary Flores.
Here.
Director Kirkland,
Here.
Director Basie, Director Anderson.
Here.
And next on the agenda is citizen communication. And before we start, Steve is going to get up and make a statement.
Okay. Yeah, I understand we have a lot of people here ready that want to speak as citizens communication tonight. I just want to make sure everyone understands what the laws are that govern this board with respect to citizens communication and things and items that are discussed that aren't on the agenda. The Brushy Creek Regional Utility Authority is subject to the Texas Open Meetings Act. The Open Meetings Act has a lot of requirements on this board about how to conduct meetings. One of the requirements is that it has to post its agenda 72 hours in advance of the meeting, and every item that is going to be discussed at the meeting has to be on the agenda, which means that if an item is not on the agenda, it cannot be discussed or acted upon. So, and that means that the members of this board are prohibited by law from discussing things that aren't on the agenda. So the item that it appears that most or all of the citizens wish to address this board is in fact not on the agenda. But that doesn't prevent you from discussing it with the board, but the board members will be prohibited by law from answering questions or discussing it or taking any action. And we just want you to understand that they're not, when they don't say anything or discuss it, it's not that they are being rude or anything. It's that the law prohibits them from doing that. So.
Thank you. First speaker, do we have Kathy Seiler?
Oh, one other thing that I forgot to mention is the board does, you can come on down. We have a rule that the citizen communications are limited to 3 minutes. And it will be timed, okay?
Thank you. My name is Kathy Seiler, and I live on North Rim Drive. And I'm going to be sharing some of the same concerns you'll hear from my neighbors about the power lines that are supporting the BCRUA running through the North Rim neighborhood. So in October of 2016, we bought our home on North Rim Drive, our retirement home. We love the neighborhood with its large treed lots and views. And I believe it's reasonable to assume that if these larger power poles run through the North Rim neighborhood, it will negatively affect property values and our quality of life. There are options for power line routes other than running through North Rim. While these other routes may be marginally more expensive, those costs can be reasonably spread across the BCRUA customer base rather than unfairly affecting North Rim homeowners. And with that, I thank you for your time.
Thank you. Dale Seiler?
Good evening. My name is Dale Seiler, and as my wife just mentioned, we've lived in the Cedar Park area for about 40 years, but just in the last few years, we've purchased our dream home in North Rim. Waited a long time to be able to get something like that, and we really like it. We're hoping to enjoy our retirement there in this beautiful neighborhood and enjoy it as long as we can. Our home is near the intersection of North Rim Drive and Trails End. So we're on one of the smaller lots. We have a 1-acre lot, and the current neighborhood power lines run across the front of our property. I believe that running taller, higher powered lines with additional or larger poles, which would end up in our front yard, will impact the aesthetics of our home, and I believe that they'll significantly impact the property values. I share the same concerns with some of my fellow homeowners that will be talking this evening, and I urge you to listen to them carefully and to consider alternative routes that will not be a disproportionate impact and burden on North Rim homeowners. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Benjamin Treese?
I'm Ben Treese, and I'm too a resident of the North Rim neighborhood. We have been attempting to have our voices heard over the past several months about the BCRU proposal to run additional power lines through the heart of our neighborhood. This is the reason we are here tonight. As elected officials with oversight responsibility and more connection to the community, we are hoping you hear our voices and can act. Our neighborhood has struggled with the lack of transparency in the communication. It is a web of organization, the BCRUA, the PEC, and various contractors. The only consistency is the inconsistency that some, on the stories that we hear, and that some other organization has the authority over whatever topic that we're trying to seek information over. In the past couple of months, we have heard the project is 2 years or 8 years out. The route hasn't been decided, or it hasn't been voted on last November. It has not been decided, or it's already been voted on. Contract negotiation has not started, or already complete, or maybe it starts in August. For the poles themselves, we've heard they're going to add 10 feet to the existing poles, replace the existing, move 10 feet to close to everyone's home. They could be concrete, metal, wood. Even statements when read in a transcript take on a very different light, where if we don't give easements for guide wires, huge industrial-looking concrete poles like those at Nameless and 1431 intersection could be going into our front yard lawns. I want the truth, but regardless, I don't think anything's decided until the dirt flies. We've had a recent example in this region where LCRA transmission lines being rerouted have been rerouted, so it has been done, and I believe it should be done here. If the board has voted on this route, we'd like to hear your reasoning. We will be here afterwards. If you have never heard of North Rim or do not remember voting to run additional concrete poles through the middle of a residential neighborhood, the board may have the same communication transparency challenges that we have had. We are a small neighborhood where neighbors look out for neighbors, as you can see by the turnout we have tonight. On this BCRUA issue, we need help from our greater neighbors, the neighboring communities. Cedar Park, Leander, Round Rock communities are all neighbors to North Rim. Neighbors helping neighbors is what Texans do. So I thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you. Dieter Billick.
Good evening. My name is Cedar Park. Thank you for the opportunity to speak here this evening. And I'm a 20-year resident at North Rim Subdivision. As you know, eminent domain is a powerful tool and needs to be used responsibly to all affected parties and be equitable in pain as it is in benefits. As you know, it is hard for the property owner to go through condemnation, especially if there's no direct positive impact for the person that's being condemned. And in our area would be all negative. In reference to the power poles, presently we have just over 20 power poles along the road in our neighborhood, plus service poles that are on the properties lined up on the road. The so-called preferred alternative through the subdivision adds 36 new poles, taller and most likely a wider base. No existing poles will be removed, and I'm referring to the May 16, 2018 technical memorandum from MSE Engineering to BCRU Design Oversight Committee. There is no indication that any existing poles going to be removed. We will have a pole garden, I call it, of 56 poles along our small neighborhood road, plus our service poles to the property owner, 56 poles. Alternative 2 has a total of 25 poles to be installed. No neighborhood there. Does this sound right, equitable, or just? This is not the spirit of the powerful condemnation. It is not just, and I assume you have to agree with this point. Alternative alignment evaluation on construction cost. No cost-benefit analysis of the 3 alternatives that we have seen. No detailed construction cost estimate we have seen. We saw a total number. No evaluation to place power underground, nothing. No FM 1431 evaluation that we have seen, which would be an alternative. No operation and maintenance cost, I think is important. Was TxDOT contacted in reference to putting the power poles into the right-of-way on 1431? I don't know, no documents. No access evaluation for maintenance, impact on the trees and buildings, maybe. No clear involvement of North Rim Subdivision, which has the biggest negative input. No meeting with affected property owners that anybody was given any information. There has to be more than value for others and not only negative impact on our property values. Where's the equity? Who wants to live along a small neighborhood road, and it is small, with 56 poles of different heights? That looks horrible. Who would buy a house here and stare every day at this pole garden when they come in or go out? New subdivision have no poles. We are going backwards, getting more poles. Does it make sense? No. You need to use an alignment where residents are not negatively impacted or go underground. You need to conduct cost-benefit analysis, real and detailed construction cost, a long-term maintenance and life cycle analysis. The solution for North Rim is very simple. Another alternative that doesn't impact so many people like it does with us, or you go underground. That is the other alternative. I appreciate taking your time.
Thank you. Tim Hawkins.
Good evening, and thank you all for listening to us today. I was here also to speak about the new power lines that are proposed to go through North Rim to support the raw water pumping station. I'm a 20-year resident of the North Rim subdivision. I've raised 5 children in the neighborhood. And while we're not residents of any jurisdiction under the BCRUA, we are a community and we're families just like all the other jurisdictions that you serve. We know that BCRUA has options for where these new power lines go and not all these routings would impact our neighborhood. I ask that each one of you make your choice on a routing I ask that when you make your choice on the routing that you all consider the impact on our neighborhood the same way that you would consider the impact on your neighboring communities within your jurisdictions. While the routing through North Rim may be the lowest financial cost to your members as a public entity, I think you cannot base your decisions strictly on financials and on programmatics. The quality of life and the property rights of the public, all of the public, is your responsibility also. And it's not fair to minimize the cost to your members by subjecting our neighborhood and our community and our families to the detriment to this permanent impact. to benefit your community to the detriment of our own just because you can. It's certainly not fair when our community gets no benefit from this project and has no say in the leadership here. I ask that when you decide on a routing for the new power lines to the Lake Travis raw water pumping station, that you choose a route based on the impact to every community and not simply based on maximizing the benefit to your own members. I ask that you route this power line around the North Rim subdivision as opposed to through it. Thank you.
Thank you. Doug Lehman?
Doug Lehman. I've been a resident in North Rim for about 4 years. Thank you for the opportunity to hear our concerns. One of the main things I wanted to bring up tonight, and it's been alluded to earlier by my neighbors, but and what you can't see when you look on a map at our neighborhood is it's a very narrow ridge that sets up, and so we have steep slopes on either side of the street, and you just have one house on either side of the street when then you hit your slopes. So the lots are actually, even though they're acreage lots, the lots themselves are actually pretty narrow. You know, the flat land is somewhere between a half acre to an acre. Many of the houses are very close to the road. So increasing the size of the infrastructure will have I'm concerned will have a pretty significant effect on the homes, potentially from a safety standpoint, and then two, from aesthetics and then resale value. So those are some of the main concerns that I have on the property. I have pictures. Can I leave them? I'll put them over there when I want step down. Okay. And then secondly, I know there was a cost analysis done on the alternate routes, and maybe I have to do this in writing through an email, but I'd like to request to see if I can get a copy of the actual backup for that analysis. What assumptions went into those analysis? What were the numbers that were used, the calculations that were used for that? So that's something I'd like to see. Just personally would like to see that myself, and maybe is that an emailed request? Is that how I would do that? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you. Apologies in advance. William Woodtick? Not even close? Was that it? No.
You get an A+.
Oh, my goodness.
My name is Bill Wutke, better spoke by him. And I live on North Rim Drive. And I'd like to make a few comments regarding communication about the new power poles. A lack of communication has led to rumors and confusion in our community. I hear all kinds of things that are possible or not possible. But I was going to say some things that you've heard already with examples about things moving close to the home or not. I'm going to skip all that because you're all intelligent people and you already heard that. What I'd like to go to is what we would like. I think we'd easily like to find the power pole plans on the Brushy Creek website. We've done an excellent job with the water treatment. I just go about and I can see timelines. I can see all the information I need to see. I've searched over there and find nothing on power poles. Searching around, and we found 3 documents from 2018 that I don't even know if they're true or not, or if they're just work products. So that's what I have to base my knowledge on, from something that's 1.5 years old. So we would also, you include any final work documents, which some of the other people said. There are a number of things, and we don't want to stand in the way of progress, but we like to have our voice on how progress progresses. And then we'd like to invite Brushy Creek to come to our neighborhood, talk to some of the people. We can have a community and just listen to what the plans are. And we can actually drive down the street and can actually see what's being impacted. Just to let you know, we are actually in Travis County. We're not part of Williamson. And so it's just different, and we pay our taxes to Travis, so we have very little voice in what happens here. But I thank you for your time and your listening.
Thank you. Thomas Noonan.
Good evening. My name is Tom Noonan. I'm a longtime banker, retired for a couple of years. My specialty was real estate financing, real estate development. And you've heard a lot of our points so far, so I'll be brief. There are two major anomalies, as I see it, for your project, making it a very bad project for us if you, in fact, insist on running these large poles down our main street. One is the anomaly that my neighbor Bill just mentioned. We're part of Travis County, unincorporated Travis County. And the post office has a certain amount of leeway on what they put on a letter. We have nothing to do with the city of Leander, yet our address says Leander. It could just as easily say Jonestown, because Jonestown does happen to be in the same county that we're in, Travis County. I think a lot of people believe that we are a good potential partner for this because we're part of either Leander or Cedar Park. Not the case. Inequity number two, just the numbers. I know, or we have heard, that you have made our street the preferred route simply because it seems to be the lowest cost. And the numbers that we've seen make ours about $600,000 to $800,000 less expensive than the next one. We have run a lot of numbers with the help of some of our real estate friends as to what would be the aggregate decrease in the value of our real estate. We have approximately 100 homes. If you take the very, very low end of $50,000 per home, you would get to $5 million. And the upper end of that would be $100,000, so that would give us 10. So that's our window. We think that $5 million of lost homeowner value would be very, very conservative, and we think it would be closer to 10 million. So if you take, let's take the lower number, $5 million, and you compare it with the $600,000 to $800,000 that you're saving, that is a small piece of our loss. And we know that you have options, and we would like you to, in analyzing these options, make sure that these items are taken into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Elizabeth Abersold.
My name is Liz Abersold, and I also live on North Rim. I'm here to talk to you today about the Deepwater Substation project and a portion of that that does harm to our neighborhood. I recognize that population growth requires this substation, and that as an essential service, a backup power is important for it. I'm not here in protest of that progress or to suggest that that project isn't needed. What I am here to say is that our beautiful neighborhood should not have to be harmed in order for that progress to happen. As a board, you have heard of a story when it comes to the portion of this project. You've seen fancy reports and PowerPoint presentations from engineers and subcontractors, but that is only half of the story. We are here to share the other half. We are here to put faces on your decisions. We aren't numbers in a calculation, but rather retired school teachers, retired military veterans, small business owners, pharmacists, pediatricians. We moved to North Rim because it is beautiful, because it is quiet, because neighbors genuinely care about each other on North Rim. We are new to you and you are new to us, but we took time to understand what drove your decisions to run for public service. Mr. Shaw, Mr. President, you ran on a platform of responsible growth. Responsible growth does not include running a power line through the heart of a community. Ms. Duffy, you said one of the projects you are most proud of is fighting the LCRA from putting a high-power transmission line through the Caballo Ranch neighborhood. You understand how these projects can have an effect on community, and that there are alternatives if we're willing to fight for them. Mr. Flores, you're an advocate for for servant leadership. As an educator, so am I. That those that you lead know that you care, and that you first and foremost do no harm. This planned route harms us. All of these issues that each of you campaigned and were elected on are happening in this one little portion of the BCRUA project. Use your power for growth and to support community. I ask you to be a board that serves rather than checks a box to a one-sided story that subcontractors are telling you are purely economical. Take a stand for what you told your constituents matter to you, and find an alternative route that doesn't run to the heart of our community. In the grand context of this project, we are very small, but the impact is extraordinary to us. I implore you to think more creatively about how to provide backup power to BCRUA that does not happen on the backs of North Rim neighborhood. Please, we beg you, stand for the values you campaigned and were elected on, and stand up for us to find an alternative route. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. All right, does anybody else want to speak? Okay. So we will move.
Well, thank you very much for all of your thoughts and words of wisdom for us. And we look forward to getting together with you at some time in the near future. Pedernales Electric Co-op has also reached out to me, and they want to be part of the communication process. So if it's okay with you, we'll work on getting some time together where you can have all the parties in the room and we can come up with something less confusing than what you have apparently heard so far, and start a dialogue again. Thanks.
All right, item 4, 4A, approval of minutes. Consider approval of the BCRUA meeting minutes for April 24, 2019 and May 1st, 2019. Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Aye. Unanimous. All right, introduction, item 5, introduction of new board members. I'll go first. My name is Jason Shaw. I am a brand-new city councilman for Leander Place 3. I'm also was just informed a few days ago that I was president of this board, and as soon as we adjourn, that will be the extent of my presidentship. Ms. Duffy, congratulations. And I look forward to following through on my commitments, just like I did with my constituents, to everybody in the area. So, Mr. Anderson, do you want to?
Yes, my name is Jason Anderson. So if you live in Leander and you want to be on this board, it's important that your first name is Jason. So just get that out of the way. It's a new rule. Actually, I am not a council member. I am, I guess, maybe the first person elected as a citizen director, truly as a citizen director, because the way that the bylaws read, you can be, one person has to be on council, but the second person, even though you may be designated as a citizen director, even if you're on council, you can actually be a citizen of the city, or you can be a ratepayer. So I am also the chair of the Planning and Zoning Commission for the city of Leander. And the main reason I believe that I was nominated for this position by the mayor and council is that I've been a consultant that does water and wastewater treatment plant design for 23 years for the same consulting firm. So I'm hoping to at least bring a different perspective than maybe has been brought in the past with folks that don't typically have much understanding of that particular subject. So I look forward to being able to serve here.
Thank you. And Councilman Kirkland?
Hi, my name is Mel. Hi, my name is Mel Kirkland. I'm in my second year as a city councilman for Cedar Park, and this is my first meeting with the BCRUA. I've been volunteering for the city of Cedar Park since 2005, and I'm really looking forward to getting started and, helping y'all, as well as also helping the cities of Leander, Cedar Park, and Round Rock.
Thank you. And item 6, consider staff overview regarding the BCRUA quarterly investment report for January 1st, 2019 through March 31st, 2019, and action approving the same.
Thank you, Mr. President. This item is in your packet. It's a clip section, and behind it is 6A is the quarterly investment report for BCRUA. We report to the board quarterly on an overview of the report and any issues that we might want to highlight for you. And to do that for us today, we have Lori Langford. She's the Deputy CFO for the City of Round Rock. So I'm going to turn it over to Lori.
Hi, good evening. Some of you may not be familiar with how we do investments on the local government level, so I'll give you a little snippet of what we do before I get into some just facts and figures with the investment report. Whenever we invest public funds, we have to follow the Local Government Code 2256. It's called the Public Funds Investment Act. And if I say it real fast, it's PFIA. So if I say that, you'll at least know what I'm talking about. It's what we're required to follow whenever we're investing public funds. And therefore, all of our investments have to meet certain criteria. The board in November of 2018 readopted our investment policy. We have a pretty robust investment policy that has to be followed that outlines all of our responsibilities as investment officers for the board. All 3 cities that are partners in the BCRUA, we all have a voice in how the funds are invested. Of course, Round Rock has their piece, Cedar Park has their piece, Leander has their piece. And we all monitor those pieces closely to make sure we're getting very safe return on our investments. That's always the first thing whenever you're investing public funds is safety. Last is yield. So if you're familiar with outside of government investing, and some of these yields might seem different from what you're used to, we are very, very conservative with how we invest public funds. So just wanted to give you a little bit of a precursor to that. For the people that are new, if at another time y'all would like for me to go over our investment policy to let you know exactly how this all works, I'd be happy to do so. But this evening, I'm presenting the January through March 2019 report. And according to the Public Funds Investment Act, we are required to present this report to the board so that you understand where all of the money is sitting. And it's a pretty complex report. If you've looked at it, it lists things very detailed and talks about Round Rock's piece, Cedar Park's piece, Leander's piece. But in all that being said, we are the BCRUA, and we take it very seriously that we're a partnership, and we want to make it as lucrative for all of us. So in this report, there's several pages, and some of the commentary at the beginning, since this was based on March numbers and we've had so much go on in the economy nationwide, some of the commentary is still a little bit stale. Since this was from March. So I'm going to skip some of that commentary. That's prepared by our investment advisors, Patterson and Associates. So about 5 pages in is actually a summary of a high-level summary of our portfolio. As of the end of March, our portfolio had a book value of about $57.5 million. That was an increase of around $3 million from the end of December. What happens when BCRUA receives money is each of the partner cities pays in a portion of the operations and maintenance, and each of the city has to make debt service payments. And what happened in the first quarter of this calendar year is we made 2 quarter payments in the first quarter. It's actually the second quarter of the fiscal year, first quarter of the calendar year. So we made 2 quarterly payments in 1 quarter. So that's why you see that jump of about $3 million in our portfolio. And I just wanted to explain what that stood for. At other times during the year, you'll see it dip because we've made debt service payments. And so this is us accumulating funds for those payments that will happen in around August timeframe. So you have, if you flip one more page, I won't make you flip a whole lot. there's a pie graph that explains where all of the money for the BCRUA sits. It's on the bottom left. Are they following okay, Karen? Okay, thank you. Whenever, yes, ma'am, thanks. Whenever you're looking at that pie graph, we have approximately $44 million of liquid assets. That is sitting in cash at Techstar and Wells Fargo. Techstar is an investment pool that a lot of government entities use because it's safe, but currently Techstar is earning approximately 2.37%. That was yesterday's rate. So of that 69%, that is earning the 2.37%. As of the end of March, it hasn't substantially changed since March. So we have about 3.7 million sitting in money markets that earn a little bit different types of interest rates. Approximately 13% of our portfolio is in commercial paper. 3% is in T-notes, and 7% are in agencies. And like I said, 77% of it is liquid. Some of this will be reinvested over this next quarter to try to lock in some higher interest rates, because since we're seeing the interest rate market falling out there. And for the quarter, your portfolio earned about $268,000 and had a net yield of about 2.13%. And we had 4 purchases of $7.4 million and 2 securities of $4 million. And so I'll entertain any questions. Thank you.
All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Passes unanimously. Item 7, consider resolution authorizing the president to execute supplemental agreement number 6 with Walker Partners for Phase 1C water treatment plant expansion and Phase 2 land rights and stakeholder coordination project.
Thank you, Mr. President. This item is an amendment to an existing contract we call Phase 2 Land Rights and Stakeholder Coordination Project. Phase 2 is the deep water intake project. And this is a contract that addresses all of the land right related items for that project. The first phase of this project was approved by the board in April 2017 for $2,012,600, and it mainly focused on the easements for the water intake and the tunnels. A couple smaller supplemental contracts have been approved for this item. One was the alternative alignment study that was done for the North Rim subdivision. And this supplemental agreement includes additional services for that contract, particularly for areas where improvements are needed to overhead electric and existing easements, and a limited number of temporary construction easements, and then support for any special commissioner hearings is also included. So the services will include project management, right-of-way and land acquisition efforts, agency and stakeholder coordination, and preliminary design updates. This contract would be a time and materials not to exceed amount of $1,084,900. The 3 cities will fund their portion of this contract. For Cedar Park and Leander, it would be funded by the 2018 SWIFT funds. And for Round Rock, it would be funded by Phase 1A savings. And I'd be happy to answer any questions. We also have our engineering project manager and our land coordinator.
Any questions? All right, do I have a motion to approve?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, passes. Director, closing comments regarding items of community interest. No comments?
Over me.
I haven't been here long enough to have any comments.
But I did want to say thank you for coming out. I mean, I know you drove a long way to be here and to have your voice heard, so it is much appreciated. And as the general manager said, I mean, dialogue is a good thing. And so I do appreciate you being here and for taking time out of your night. Thank you.
And I want to say thank you, and thank you for doing your homework, because you really put us on the spot with that. So that's great. And just we do have new members on our board because of elections and things like that. But a lot of us on the board, I think even Mr. Flores, I think none of us were here during this timeline that we were given. So I think there is an opportunity to have that conversation. So.
We can't discuss that.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming tonight. Government works when we all work together, and so I appreciate you all coming tonight and speaking. I know, things come up, and it's unfortunate when it affects people's neighborhoods, but I'm very happy that you're here speaking on behalf of your neighborhood and stuff, so I appreciate that.
And so I'll say this, as y'all see me up here fumbling on my first time as president of any board, don't let that fool you. I've taken your notes down, right? You came here and you were heard, right? And we will do our homework and we will research it. And ultimately, we don't know what's going to happen, but your voices were heard. And I thank you for participating in this. All right, that's it. Adjourn the meeting.